Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of September 20th to the 26th of 2021. All right, so very busy week astrologically, two very important events taking place. We do have a full moon on Monday going into Tuesday of this week, and so it is the heightened phase of the lunar month, and good to do a status check with things in our life. The full moon will be in true Sidereal Pisces, so it is about doing a status check with our more receptive side. Are we willing to go with the flow? Are we doing what's important to us on a soul and spiritual level? And are we balancing things with work and rest, doing and being with the sun in Virgo and a lot of planets still in Virgo at the moment? Then at the very end of the week on Sunday, going into next week, Mercury will go retrograde. So next week mostly, but this weekend, maybe some things to pause with and start to reflect on, again, in the context of Virgo, of what can be improved, fixed, and refined upon in our lives. Now, we do have quite a few aspects this week as well. Early in the week, Mercury, the planet of our mind and communication, will be trining up to expansive Jupiter. So maybe seeing some potentials, maybe good for discussing higher things in life. And around Wednesday, Venus will go into Libra, where she's much more comfortable than Virgo. And so maybe matters of relationships starting to come in, of finding balance and reciprocity in our relationships for the second half of the week. Mercury square Pluto midweek, deep communications, empowering ourselves with communications and possibly learning. And around Thursday, Venus will be opposite Uranus, so maybe some new and different things in relationships could be quite exciting. And then during that weekend, with Mercury going retrograde, Mars, the planet of assertiveness, will be trining up to more grounded Saturn. So it could be a very productive weekend, or we're just feeling more stable and grounded. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, September 20th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to the channel, definitely check out the link down below, especially if you're expecting me to say different signs where the planets are. This is, again, different. So if you're new, check out the link for more information. All right, so let's take a look here at just coming into the week. We're going to have a full moon late Monday going into Tuesday for most of us. It is going to be in watery Pisces in the sky. And so status check time period. And it usually is the more heightened energy of the lunar month. So really good for, taking action and implementing things, but it is in more watery Pisces. So it's likely important to do things in regards to having more peace in our life, in regards to cultivating our dreams or our ideals, right? And maybe getting into literally things like spirituality or creativity, imagination. But this is being balanced by Virgo. So this is the axis of personal growth and development. Pisces is the more spiritual growth or mental and spiritual health developments. But still a lot of energy in Virgo keeps things very grounded. And in fact, the major theme has been and will continue to be around improvement. So while it is good to, again, have that peace, balancing that with work, with personal development, with our routines, with possibly matters that need fixing, so health, day-to-day activities, and even our work and service, very good to ground all this. And this is the ideal here, right? To balance these two, work and rest, doing and being, and by focusing on what's good for our physical health and our physical lives, balancing that with what's important on our mental and spiritual health levels of life. So great to do this kind of stuff. This axis is all about personal growth and development, and grounding the physical with the spiritual will be a major theme, especially because the full moon will be involving a conjunction with Neptune and opposite up to Mars, balancing that physical and spiritual element, the active yet receptive sides of ourselves. And so whatever does shift here around Monday, usually we come to some insights. Again, do think back to the past 6 months. How is that more receptive side of yourself? Are we willing to go with the flow? Are we having faith and trust? And are we doing what's important to us on a soul level? And these will be some insights that we can then implement for the rest of the week as we get into that disseminating phase of the cycle. All right, and in terms of the aspects, quite a few going on here this week. Around that full moon, we do have a supportive one. Mercury, the planet of our minds and communication, will be trining up to expansive Jupiter. So Monday, Tuesday, usually very good for letting the mind expand a bit. Great for higher studies, higher learning, whether it is spirituality or religion or philosophy. More of the right side of the brain activities tend to be supportive. But all in all, we're just having a more expansive view of life, and there could be some insights coming in from that. Great time of learning just in general, and also communicating in general, especially if it is about discussing these more abstract and higher principles of life like philosophies and etc. And then once we start to get into the Tuesday, but mostly into Wednesday time, we'll still have that moon in Pisces up until about mid-Thursday, emphasizing the importance of, again, going with the flow and such, getting that rest and spiritual and mental health matters. But Mercury will start to square up to Pluto for pretty much this whole early part of the week in the strongest sense. And Pluto is a very deep planet. So our minds are going into the depths, especially around Wednesday. Now, it does make it very good for research, psychology, uncovering hidden truths, hidden knowledge, esoteric stuff, right? Anything that's about learning about the deeper dimensions of the human experience or of life in general. And empowering ourselves just in general, especially with communications. If there is anything that you feel like you do want to say or communicate or do that involves writing or some form of communication, that we might be a bit fearful about or inhibited to do. This can be a great time to empower ourselves to make those changes, to do those things, and it can actually be quite transformative, both in the mental and communicative sphere of things. And all in all, just good to be non-attached. If there are some things going on communication-wise in your life, Pluto does show us where we are holding on very tightly, where our egos are holding on very tightly. And so it is important to have that non-attachment in order to, again, do those things that are deeply important to us and empower ourselves to make whatever changes here we are called to make here with the square to Pluto. But once we do get into that Thursday time period, we'll be easing up out of that. And this is about the time that Venus starts to go into Libra, where she's much more comfortable. So Venus has been debilitated in Virgo for quite some time, and now she's starting to enter into her home sign of Libra, which usually tends towards a little bit more balance in relationships, more themes around balance in relationships, things like reciprocity, the importance of reciprocity, of mutual agreement, of coming to middle ground, relatability, right? The scales, balancing the scales, usually in an interpersonal sense. But all in all, Venus in Libra just values balance. And so we could be enjoying more of the balanced elements of life versus what has been more of the having to fix or improve things, or doing more of that work with the values and relationships where Venus has been in Virgo, which again is more uncomfortable. So do give it some time, maybe towards the later part of the week, but anything that is about bringing more balance into your life, especially on the relational level, possibly on the financial level, anything that involves values, resources, and relationships. Great to see both sides of the coin and find that middle path there. All right, and around that Thursday time, so late Thursday, the moon will shift out of watery Pisces, coming out of the ethers and going into a more active oriented sign of Aries. And so late Thursday, but mostly Friday, will be good for a bit of this assertiveness. Anything in our life that does require initiative on our part, action on our part, independence, very good to implement that. So more of the fiery, assertive energy coming out of more of the etheric, spiritual energy there with Pisces. And this is the same time on Thursday, we will have Venus, again, that planet of relationships, opposite up to Uranus. So even though the theme is around balance, Uranus is quite different from this. Uranus wants to have different experiences, unorthodox experiences, to really get outside the norm. in the status quo with things. So if there is anything that is a balanced way of having a little bit more freedom in your relationship life, or just freedom in your life in general, in a way that, speaks more to your true self, this could be a great way of doing this. But again, usually with the challenging aspects, there tends to be the tendency to go to extremes. So one side of us may want to break free, do some sudden things, maybe a bit impulsive, and maybe a part of us that doesn't want to at all. So finding that balance, right? How can we have new experiences, healthfully get outside that comfort zone, and think outside the box a little bit there with that opposition to Uranus. And if it is involving a particular relating experience or relationship, which oppositions often do emphasize, again, non-attachment can be important, and just being mindful of that need to have freedom and the need to make changes or have new experiences, and doing that stuff constructively can be great to find that balance with. All right, and so then once we do get into that Friday time, again, Moon in Aries, we are starting to enter into that disseminating phase of the cycle, coming off of the full moon, again, making it great for implementation. And then once we start to get into Saturday, Mars will start to trine up to Saturn. It's usually quite a grounded and constructive aspect. Mars is our short-term needs, our more assertive and immediate goals, things we want now. And Saturn's the side that wants things later, wants to make sure things are done correctly, more groundedly, right, and long-term. So a great time of joining up our short-term desires with our long-term desires. And we're usually willing to do that with the trine. So that's why it makes it quite productive. Anything that does require discipline, patience, responsibility, perseverance, right? This is a great energy over the weekend to work with that. And late Saturday is when the moon starts to go into Taurus to finish up the week. And so major themes Saturday and Sunday around resourcefulness, creating a stable, secure, and comfortable environment for ourselves. So great for connecting to nature, all right, more of those grounded elements, maybe the natural resources of life, food, cooking, aromatherapy, right, the natural world, and fundamentally cultivating our inner strength, inner resources here around Saturday, Sunday. But this is where the second most important thing going on this week. It's really technically next week, but Mercury will start to go retrograde here around late Sunday and early Monday of next week. And so usually during the station period where Mercury's paused in the sky, it is good to kind of pause with things a little bit. Whatever you've been thinking about these past few months or so, any plans you've had, it is good to kind of go back and start to rethink them. And over the next 3 weeks, maybe reduce some things, or at least just be open to some changes there. So it is good to implement things during retrogrades. It's, not about avoiding anything, but it's about having a plan A, B, C, and D, because information changes during the retrograde, plans change, right? And so we just want to be as flexible as possible. So allowing for that adaptive energy and to experiment during the retrograde, maybe, try some new things we normally wouldn't do, think differently. All right, these are all great ways of working with that retrograde. But really this weekend, just kind of pausing with it, pausing with the stuff we're thinking about or our routines while Mercury slows down for his 3-week retrograde. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Most important thing is full moon coming right at the beginning of the week. Status check from the past 6 months with the Pisces receptive side of ourselves. How is that? Willingness to go with the flow and have more mental and spiritual health in our life, and overall peace and presence, right? Balancing that with the work, which is the major theme of the year with all this energy in Virgo. And quite a few aspects, an expansive mind at the beginning of the week, some empowering opportunity here for communication or learning in a way that's empowering. Shifts into relationship themes midweek, mostly around Thursday, about finding balance with the free-spirited or the individualistic side of ourself with the opposition up to Uranus. while having some new experiences there. And then the week ends with a good grounded energy with Mars Saturn, but then Sunday with a bit of a pause and reflection for that retrograde coming up. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. And yeah, have a great one. Thank you again. And I'll see you all next week for the next astrology forecast. Take care.